I stupidly co-signed for a family member and now I can be in debt. Yes, you read that right. I was so stupid that I co-signed a vehicle for a family member who I thought at the time I could have trusted. It all started in 2021. I helped this member get a car for her and her little family. She was at the time responsible with that vehicle payment as her family was growing on 2023. She basically went behind my back and got her an SUV since she needed more space. She disclosed the monthly amount on that vehicle and even how much she got it for. There were many red flags at the time of the negotiation with the dealership salesperson that both member and salesperson drove all the way to my home to sign the lease. But again, I was stupid to not see the red flags. Early this year, I received a call from the financial department that they were looking for the vehicle to repo due to many missed payments. I contacted my family member, and due to an emergency, she was unable to pay or even work as she was in and out of the hospital. Somehow, she contacted the bank and signed forms to pardon the missing payments, to which this day, I am not sure if that even exists. Now, on December 23rd, I received a text message from this member that the vehicle got repoed and that due to the high amount to get the car back, she is surrendering the vehicle and mentioned that due to her situation, she needs another car as soon as possible. And that she succeeds in getting another car, that she cannot pay for two car loans at the same time. I come here to seek help and advice to see what I can do. I understand and acknowledge when co-signing primary, I am responsible for payments. But since we are both on the lease, I want her to be fully responsible for the debt. And yes, I've learned my lesson in all of this. Oh, this is delicious, family. All right. So before I head to the gym, let's take a look here. There are three stories we're going to look at that deal with co-signing. If you are new to my Reddit style, I read the story and then I do my commentary. You can use the chapter buttons. I'm now including chapters in each of these, so you can quickly skip to the first, second, or third story. And it doesn't matter when the Reddit stories were. If I believe it's interesting, we go ahead and we learn from it. So let's take a look here. I was stupid that I co-signed a vehicle for a family member. I wonder what family vacation and dinners and holidays and birthdays must be like. Probably a bit uncomfortable. I cannot take credit for thinking of this, and maybe it came from the Ramsey, maybe just came from one of the many things that I read. You do not want to be the bank, landlord, debt collector, however you want to put it, for a family member. I am convinced at the age of 58 that any money I give people, not just family, but anybody I should give money to, it's yours to keep. And this keeps me from being in from being in the situation where I act as your banker and your debt collector. It also keeps us from being uncomfortable when we are around each other because you know you owe me money. I know you owe me money and you haven't paid me back. And yet I saw you buy this, this, and this. And I saw you buy that car, that house, go on that vacation. And we have seen stories like that. And I remember one very well a few years back was on the Ramsey show. They owed a family member money, but yet they went and bought a house. Yes, furnished a house, bought the house, and they still owed the family member money and wouldn't pay them back, and they owed them in the thousands. Says here you want to help a member get into a car, and she was responsible with the payments at the time. Please keep in mind that it is my belief that when most people, not all, when most people are asking someone to co-sign at the time, the person that is looking on to take the debt, they're going to typically be responsible to some degree with their money. Not to all degrees, but to some. Why? Because they need to convince someone else to help them take on debt. See, if you weren't planning to buy a car that day, a house that day, you weren't planning to sign on $1,000 iPhone. In other words, that was not in your repertoire of things to do that month, that year, then you certainly don't want to take that debt on for someone else if you weren't even willing to take it on for yourself. So it is my belief that most of the time, people who are coming to others with, oh, can you please just, co-sign this for me? I will take care of all the payments. I'm your son, daughter, grandchild, boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, husband, wife, whatever. They're most likely at that time going to have been more diligent with their finances because you see, they know before you know that they want to take on debt that they're going to need someone's co-signing for. See, you always have to remember this. Oh, gee, you want me to co-sign on your apartment lease. Oh, but I've been making all my apartment payments. Well, of course they have, because you see, they know before you know that they need a co-signer. So they're going to try to clean up their own record as much as possible. And I've said this to you before, family. They will be your best friend. Okay. You people looking, thinking about being co-signers, and don't do it. But if you're thinking about it, everyone is your best friend when they need your John Hancock, meaning your signature on the line. They are going to be your best sibling, your best friend, your best buddy, boyfriend, girlfriend, okay, even son and daughter. And we have seen parents get screwed over financially by co-signing on student loans, especially for kids that swear they're pay them back, and then the kid drops out of school, gets married, has a kid, and that co-sign agreement that they told you that they would help you pay. No, mom and dad get screwed too. We have to remember co-signing isn't just a one-way opportunity. Everyone, regardless of socioeconomic, has the potential, and familial relationships has the potential to get screwed over by a cosigner. Let's see here. She went behind my back and got an SUV since she needs more space. What did I just say? What did I just say, family? The person that you are co-signing for is one step ahead of you in the debt, which means they're also one step ahead and screwing you over financially, which is why you don't want to co-sign. See, once she had this family member co-sign, she didn't care anymore about the family member. She didn't. She got out of the family member what they needed. Always remember this. When you're thinking of, oh, gee, I won't be able to keep my relationship with my boyfriend, girlfriend if I won't co-sign, let the relationship go. They're going to be your best friend until you sign. And then at that point, they can wash their hands of you because you did what they needed you to do. She disclosed the monthly amount in the vehicle, how much she got for it. There were red flags at the time. Yes, there are always red flags at the time. The first red flag is, I need you to co-sign. Would you consider a co-sign? Oh, gee, I won't be able to get this unless I get a co-signer. And then they look at you and bat their eyes, and then you fall for it. For all the mistakes I've made financially, I've never co-signed because I've always understood I have a hard enough time with my own debt. I don't need someone else. So the finance department calls, says there's going to be a repo. And then, of course, what's the first thing the co-signer does? They just what this person did. You call the family member, hey, how come there's all of a sudden a repo? And of course, it's, well, I can't pay the bills. You have to remember this, you guys. When you are co-signer, you are the backup bank. Stupidly, I'm going to say stupidly, okay? People co-sign not really understanding that they are the bank. Do I have lipstick on my teeth? Good. Okay? They don't understand that. You are the bank. You are not just the signature. So when that person doesn't pay that said that they would, it doesn't matter if your relationship breaks up, it makes no difference. They can break up, go on and date somebody else, and you're stuck holding the bag, the financial responsibility. And you also don't think about, at the time that you choose to co-sign for someone, what happens to them, to the person that said they were going to pay the bill, the one you did the favor with. Ever thought that they could be unemployed? They could be in a car accident. And that sounds like what happened here. Unemployed in a car accident. Were you planning on that when you co-signed for that car, that house, that student loan, that cell phone, that apartment? Maybe even just the credit card bill. You just said, hey, yeah, I understand you need to bill your credit. I'll go ahead and co-sign on a $5,000 rotating charge card for you. Nobody comes to you as a co-signer and says, I lost my job. I've been in a car accident. I mean, which is unfortunate on both ends. All right, let's acknowledge that. But now I need you to co-sign. They don't come to you under those conditions. Absolutely not. She says here she contacted the bank and signed some forms to pardon the missing payments. I'm going to call baloney on that. I've never known a bank to just pardon car payments. I've not saying it's impossible. Perhaps they pardoned the missing payments and moved the payments to the end. Okay. You're in a car accident. You can't pay for the next 4 months. We'll go ahead and move those 4 months of payments to the end. So I seriously doubt that happened. Let's see. I received a text message from the member that the vehicle got repoed, and due to the high amount to get the car back, she's surrendering the vehicle. This is something you have to remember when you co-sign. And it kind of happened here as well. Once you co-sign, the person that you co-signed for, once they choose, and they most likely will, just as you're seeing here, they will choose to go, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and file bankrupt, repo the car because I don't care. And that what do you do as the cosigner that got suckered? Well, you allowed yourself to get suckered. No one can force you to cosign unless you allow it. So let's take personal ownership and responsibility. Okay. So you go running and go, but wait a minute, our credit's gonna go bad. Well, the other person don't care. The other person can walk away from the debt, file bankruptcy, and leave you holding the bag. Because remember, you're the other bank. If one bank closes, the other bank opens, and you the other bank. And so you're the one that they come for. And you can't pay it either, then guess what? You get the joys of either working a second Uber job or you wind up filing bankruptcy yourself. And you think your family member cares? No. Remember, the family member got out of you what they wanted. That was all that they cared about. So, anyways, due to her situation, she needs another car as soon as possible. And here's the sucky part. She can get that. Remember, this is only a month ago. She can, and she will get that other car. And she's still going to be holding the bag on the first car that she got. And she don't need you no more, but you now owe the bill. Ah, family, that was tasty. All right, let's go to the second one. Now, this second one played 13 years ago. I shouldn't say played. You can tell I do a lot of YouTube. But this actually was a story that was 13 years ago, and I read it, and I was like, I got to show this to my crowd. So for those of you, again, this is casual, all right? So we're looking at this Reddit story, 13 years ago, never ever co-sign a loan. But this story is a perfect example. Probably preaching to the choir here, but about 10 years ago, my best friend called me up. He graduated from an expensive private school, $100,000 in student loan debt, and had been admitted to law school at the same place. Turned out he was having a wee bit of trouble financing law school. He wanted to know if I'd co-sign on a law school loan or two. At the time, I didn't even know what that meant. I got through college with no debt, called up my dad, who strenuously advised me under no circumstances to co-sign anyone else's loan ever. So I told my buddy, sorry, but no, I will not co-sign on your one or two law school degrees. Unfortunately, our friendship was never the same after that. I'm sure he resented me for not being a true buddy and signing, but somehow or another, he managed to get financing for God knows how many more tens of thousands in loans for law school. Fast forward 10 years. Found out recently that, like many with law economy, his income hasn't kept pace with his loans, and he's defaulted on his student loans, and the debt collectors are pounding on his door, taking his car, garnishing his wages, taking out liens. And if I had agreed to co-sign those years ago, those debt collectors would be coming after me. Thank God my dad's wise advice, and the lesson is never, ever co-sign. All right, he has an edit here. Let's go ahead and check this out where they add on something later. Interesting minority of folks were chiming in to say they've co-signed blank loan with no problem. Some get lucky, I guess. Also, I suppose that in a very few limited number of situations, parents helping children co-signing might make sense, but I still wouldn't do it at all. It should be avoided. I can't believe that one person would ask a buddy, hey, buddy, not married to you. You're not my parent, not even my grandparent, and ask to co-sign for a law school degree. I mean, I could even understand the stupidity of, okay, could you co-sign for my hair and nails degree? Maybe that's 15 grand. Don't do it. Okay. But you're talking massive amounts of difference. Still, don't do it. But to go ahead, but to have the nerve, the gumption, the gall, the ego to go up to a friend and say, would you co-sign 100,000 plus law school degree? In other words, if you weren't planning on buying a law school degree for yourself, where you're going to make no profit, because remember, you just the bank. You don't reap any of the benefits of this, none at all. You are just the bank. You co-sign for someone's car, you better make darn sure that you are a co-owner of the car. If you are stupid enough to co-sign for someone's car, someone's house, you best make sure you are also on the deed. You are also named on the title of the car. Again, if you're stupid enough to do that. Going to your friend and saying, would you co-sign my law degree takes a lot of ego. And I mean ego, like you think you all that. I would never ask a friend, and I never have, and I've never asked a family member to co-sign anything. One, because I know they would say no. All right. And two is I would never ask because I would say no to doing it for them. So this guy really, really lucked out. This was, like I said, the story was 13 years ago, but I guarantee you 110%, had he co-signed for the degree, that debt would still be his. And take a look at what's happened in 13 years with the economy and COVID and everything else. He saved himself. His dad saved him. All right, let's take a look at the third story, family. Third story. What is the third story? Hold on. I got to look it up. And oh, this was girlfriend. This is from 6 years ago. Stretch. Oh, I feel the gym coming on, people. Again, if you're new, this is really casual. Hope you enjoy it. I washed my hair this morning, so it's deep conditioning because I have to go to the gym. All right, here we go. 6 years ago. Co-signed for now ex-girlfriend. Of course, it's a now ex-girlfriend. It's never, oh, I co-signed for a girlfriend who's now my wife. We're happily married. We have 3 kids together and we make 6 figures. Hey, just keeping it real. Co-signed for now an ex-girlfriend student loan a few years ago. How do I get off? Oh, here we go. 6 years ago, I recently moved to Texas from California, and I'm no longer dating my girlfriend of 6 years. She had some financial issues come up with her FAFSA about 3 years ago and needed to apply for a private student loan to cover the FAFSA difference, $16,000. She ended up going through Sally Mae, but needed a cosigner in order to secure the $16,000 loan. I co-signed for her loan. We are now separated. I'm curious as to how I can get off the loan. Let's just stop here for just a second. People, you cannot get off the loan unless you pay the bill. You need to stop thinking that you can just sign for someone because they're a friend or buddy, which is what we have here, friend, buddy. And then when the relationship ends, when you don't want to live in the same house together, you don't want to drive the same car together, you don't even want to share the same phone together, all of a sudden it's like, well, we bought the house, bought the car, bought the cell phone, bought the student loan. We no longer together. So how do I get out of it? When you pay off the bill. This is the stupidity of co-signing. All right, continuing on. It is set up so that she only pays $25 a month as she is still in school. Once she finished the payments, go up to $250 to $300 a month. I know that she could refinance and then take me off. I also found a form where she can submit a request to have the cosigner released. This may be harder as it is up to her to fill it out. I would rather seek an option where I can do it all myself and get myself off. Okay. Yes. There is the option. The option is, yes, you pay it off and you can get yourself totally off of it. And don't fall. I know I'm supposed to read this straight through, but work with me here, okay? Because this used to be called Student Loan Chit-Chat. That was the original name of this channel, okay, about 5 years ago. You have to understand, you guys, when you co-sign for someone's debt, I don't care what the debt is, and you are sold the story of, well, they could just simply refinance down the road and get you off. When it comes to student loan debt, that rarely happens. Why? Because of the fact that you need to be able to show the person that took on the original debt, the one that wanted the debt, the student, okay, that wanted the debt, they have to show that they can pay the debt off. Well, if they can pay the debt off, they don't need you as a cosigner anymore now, do they? Think about the logic here. You are signing for someone that does not have the money. You are told the promise down the road, well, you know what? After I get out of school, I'll have a job and then I'll just take you off. It is not that simple. The banks aren't stupid. Sally Mae, federal government, whoever you lend from is not stupid. Why would they take off you? You are the second bank. Why would they remove you from the debt, knowing that the person you co-signed for doesn't have the money, may never have it, or will not have it for years? So when people co-sign for debt, it always just amazes me. And again, I've been stupid with money too, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the stupidity of co-signing. It amazes me how people co-sign for debt and then literally think because the relationship ended or the person graduated from school that now we can just sign ourselves away. So tell me, how can I get out of this? You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the lady on the Dave Ramsey show. Did a commentary on her about 2 years back, and she literally calls into the show. I kid you not, and she says, Mr. Ramsey, I have $279,000 worth of student loan debt, and I'd like to know how to make it go away. I kid you not. And I did the commentary to that story. 279,000. And Dave looks at her and says, or Dave says, well, because it's a phone conversation. Well, is this debt all in your name? And she goes, yes. How do I make it go away? It was one of the most fascinating calls I've ever listened to regarding student loan debt because of the stupidity surrounding it. This type of a Reddit story is not much different. It's the stupidity around it. You think because the relationship ends that the debt you now wanted to go away. You want to go away as fast as the person that you were dating with. You want them to go away. Hey, I'm keeping it real. Okay. So this $25 a month, the debt just keeps going up and up, depending upon the type of loan it is. And of course, we're going with private Sally Mae. Everybody dates Sally Mae at some point, it seems, that wants to have a screwed over relationship. She said she could refinance, take him off. All right, how to get myself off? This is a fairly recent breakup. This was 6 years ago. This is a fairly recent breakup. I've stopped talking altogether with her. I'm hoping it'll be a civil one. I can bring this up to her. I'm worried about her possibly stopping and paying the loan, especially once the payment gets a lot higher. Yeah, absolutely. And when the payments get higher and she's going to find a new boyfriend, um, and you're going to be holding on to the old girlfriend's debt. That's why you don't want to do it. And it's why I need to get to the gym. Have a great day, everyone.